Hey guys, Adam Wolf here at Mortal Coil Serpentry, and I just want to take a little time today to talk to you guys about transparency and honesty in localities. Now, localities are becoming a more and more desirable thing in the hobby, whereas generations past we've kind of neglected that, and to the point that we've honestly lost the bloodlines on the pure bloodlines on some stuff, you know, and it's really important to protect and maintain the integrity of those bloodlines in captivity as we have them, because a lot of these guys we can't import them, and we really shouldn't. We shouldn't be taking these animals out of the wild at this point if we already have them here. Okay, so it's very important with that we're not going to have new ones coming out of the wild. It's important to maintain the integrity of the bloodlines, and to do that requires honesty and transparency of breeders and sellers, period. So what brings this to my mind is, unfortunately, there's a lot of kind of a pass the buck kind of thing that happens, unfortunately, sometimes in the reptile community, where someone will be sold something as one thing, and them not knowing, innocently enough, they don't get what they thought they were getting. It's happened to me, in my more novice days. What brought this to mind is of watching a conversation unfold with a very good buddy of mine who's an excellent boa breeder, Rob Wynn at Taking Up Serpents, hell of a guy, and really knows his stuff with boas, makes some incredible stuff. I'm proud to have an animal or two from him in my collection. Anyway, was watching Rob, very politely, mind you, talking with someone who had posted a jungle boa in a group. Okay, now jungle is a term that gets tossed around a lot on boas, but long story short, every little aberrancy of pattern in boas is not jungle. Jungle is a gene. Jungle has specific markers, and aberrations of pattern are very typical for boa imperator. Doesn't make it a jungle. But this guy had bought one from a reseller. It's not the person that had originally produced it, I don't believe. And he had bought it as a jungle, and he had kept it as a jungle, and he was selling it as a jungle. Okay? But here comes someone who really knows their stuff with boas to tell him, hey, I'm sorry, that's not actually a jungle. It's a really nice boa, but it isn't a jungle. Well, instead of taking that under advisement from someone who could very, very arguably be considered an expert, this guy got defensive about it and decided he was going to continue to list this animal as a boa. Just going to pass the buck on as a jungle boa, and just going to pass the buck on that. Which that is not really a good thing to do, okay? Because now he knows that's not the truth. See, it's one thing for him to just not know. It's another thing to intentionally deceive, okay? And that's where the transparency and honesty comes in, okay? So the reason I'm talking about this today is that it really relates strongly to the localities in these animals. Like I said, localities are becoming more and more desirable. And this that I have in my hands, you guys probably already know if you're fans of the Asian beauties like I am. This is a cave racer, or Ridley's beauty snake. Okay, and this guy I would call a pretty good example of a Highland phase. Okay, now I said Highland phase, not Cameron Highland. And if you know your beauty snakes, you know what a Cameron Highland Ridley eye is. So why didn't I call this that? Well, he matches the phenotypal markers. He's got the bright orange back, and he's got a lot of like olive colors and stuff. And he's a smaller example. Some of you guys that have seen some of our beauties in person, you probably know PETA, the giant male Ridley eye that we have. Really cool blue, lots of cream tones, and I mean, 3 times the size of this animal. He's huge. I've got him paired up right now, so I'm not going to pull him out for this video, but we'll post some pictures probably in comments or whatever for this. And this guy, on the other hand, is just a really good example of the Highland phase. And he has those phenotypal markers like you would see with like a Cameron Highland. Okay? But I don't have specific information tracing the full genealogy of this animal all the way back to the original imports to show that he's a pure Cameron Highland or this percentage Cameron Highland or anything like that. So no matter what he looks like visually, I can't call him that in good honesty. That wouldn't be right to do. Okay? So I can call him a Highland phase, but I can't call him a Cameron Highland. And similarly, and what brought this up is I had a guy reach out to me today about cave racers, about the Ridley eyes, and he wanted to know the locale of the animals that we work with. And I work with some highland and lowland phase, but I don't have that locality information for any of them. So I kind of just separate them out by this is more phenotypal of a highland type or a lowland type, and we just kind of go from there. And I don't misrepresent that. And this guy wanted me to look at pictures of his Ridley eye, a male that he got, I'm not sure from who, to kind of confirm the locality on that. But here's the thing, you can't really do that, all right? There are phenotypal markers, but having all the markers with a locality animal, it's not like with a gene. With a gene, it visually just is or isn't this thing, okay? With a locality, it's more like pedigrees in dogs. If you had something that's 75% this breed and 25% a similar breed, you might not be able to visually distinguish it from a pure this breed, unless you have the full genealogy of that animal on paper going all the way back to prove that both of its parents were pure, its grandparents were pure, etc., etc., etc. Okay? It's the same thing with these locality animals. It's about the pedigree, and you've got to be able to show the lineage of that animal, or whether it really is or really isn't. If you can't prove it, sorry, you can't sell it as that, not and be fully transparent and honest. Okay, so I'm going to show you a good example of that in some of the retics here. Just put him back real quick. Block my elbow since he decided to nip me just a little bit before the video started, like they like to do. I want to see here who's who. Okay, we'll start here, buddy. Now, this guy is really pretty small, so I'm going to hold him fairly close, or try to for you. Okay. Now this little guy here is a pure Kalatoa retic, about a year old male. Okay. Now, to be able to call this a pure Kalatoa, that means, again, have to be able to show the full genealogy of this animal across whatever breeders came before me until I acquired this one. Okay, all the way back to the original imports and where they were from and how they were labeled. Okay, that's how we trace the genealogy on that. Okay, so what makes that interesting in this context, I'm going to get out another retic, try to handle two at once for you. Fortunately, they're just little guys and I can do that. Hey baby, don't do that. Ooh, we're going to be a little bit squirrely. That's fine, I can do this. Okay, so, no you don't. So these guys, oh boy, nope, alright, that's not going to work. That's fine, that's fine. Just get you back, and then I will show off the other one. Nope. There we go, sweetheart. Thank you. Okay, so with the Kalatoas, you're going to notice this really lanky body, a lot of grays, and I don't know if you guys can see it very well in this video, but you got a lot of like fractal patterns up the necks. Okay? Looks really good. So that's a pure Kalatoa. Alright, so I'll put him back, and then I'll get the other one out again. Alright, that's better. Now, this girl is extremely interesting. Now, I got this one from Joe Hall, and what makes this animal very fascinating is that she is 100% super dwarf, okay? But we can only say she's 50% Kalatoa. She could be 100%, but maybe not. Why? Because one of the parents of this one was a wild caught animal, an import, from an unknown locality. Clearly super dwarf by its size as an adult, okay? But because we don't know exactly where that animal was from, we definitely can't say that it was Kalatoa or Kewati or Madu or wherever. We can't say that because we just don't know. But I can say this animal is 100% super dwarf. And I can say she's 50% Kalatoa because I can show the lineage for her being 50% Kalatoa. Now, the full transparency and honesty comes in when I say this is 100% super dwarf, but not 100% Kalatoa. Because if I wanted to be an absolute asshole, once this animal is producing, pair her with a pure Kalatoa, nobody's going to know the difference, not visually, but I'll know, and yes, it matters. We don't do that. That's not honest. That's not transparent. I can't do that. Here's the thing, guys. I purchased a retic one time. I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but if the guy sees this, he knows who he is, and he knows what he did. Okay? Purchased a retic from someone one time. It was supposed to be 50% dwarf. Okay, Jampia. Won't go into the genetics, but it's supposed to be this percentage dwarf. Alright? I spent 4 years raising this animal for a specific project to pair with a female, another 50% Jampia. Got pretty close to time to do it. Was talking to this guy, and he changed his tune of what percentage he claimed the animal he had sold to me as a 50% was. He now says it was 25%, not 50. Now, based on the size of that animal, I'm going to say it probably is in fact 50. But I can no longer prove that because he chose to do that to me. It sucks. Because you guys know, anything under 50% dwarf is not generally considered to be a dwarf. That means the offspring from that clutch were now 37.5% dwarf, not 50%. It devalued my clutch quite a lot. Now, I could have kept that conversation to myself. I could have just passed the buck on to my customers. But again, that wouldn't be right. And that's not how we do things here. And it shouldn't be how the person you make purchase from, the people you do business with, the friends you keep. It shouldn't be how they do business either. If you're keeping business with people who do that, you're hanging with the wrong folks. All right? Period. So, even when it sucks, even when it means you come out on the losing end financially, appreciate the animals you have for what they are. Appreciate their beauty as they are. Don't overly concern yourself with making something a locality that isn't, because it's not adding anything to that animal in an intrinsic kind of way. The only way we add real value to locality animals is through transparency and through keeping our bloodlines pure, clean, and honest. All right, guys, that's all I've got to say about that. I hope everybody out there has a great day. Keep following us here on Mortal Coil Serpentry. We got some beautiful stuff coming this year. Thanks, guys.